Hello, hello, everybody. So we're going to start our very first session of Create Good 2020. We're so excited. So in your panel, you can ask questions. And you just go ahead and drop down that question and ask your questions there. And so without further ado, I would love for you to listen to Maggie Kane in her Crowdfunding for Success. Thank you, Maggie, for joining us today, and have a great presentation.
Ooh, thank you, Dawn. Hey, everyone. It is so good to be with you. I can't see you. I know you can see me, so hence I won't be staring at the screen because it feels kind of awkward. I've never done this before, that's for sure. It's not in my wheelhouse. It's not on my resume. I love being in person because I can talk to people. I can look at you guys and make whatever jokes come to mind. So this is incredibly awkward, but I'm glad that you guys have joined today. At least in Raleigh. I live in Raleigh, and it's pretty rainy and gross out, so it's a good day to be home. I was just telling Dawn that I look like this because it's how I woke up. I'm still in the same clothes. It's the first day that I have not left my house and had to rush to work, so I wore workout clothes. So that hopes I work out at some point today. I don't know if anyone else on this call feels that same way, but it's great to be with y'all. My name is Maggie Kane, and I'm the executive director and founder of A Place at the Table. So a Place at the Table is a pay what you can nonprofit restaurant that we in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I will get into all of that. But I wanted to start first with this awesome cat. I thought it was hysterical. I'm sure many of us are seeing all the memes everywhere of all different jokes and things that of quarantine and corona, and so I thought this was funny. So I didn't know how GoToWebinar worked, but I'm used to Zoom meetings, and so we've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings recently, and it's just I like dying laughing when my board members and friends can't figure out how to unmute or mute themselves. So I'm totally okay if someone says something during this presentation. I won't really know how to stop sharing my screen and look at you, but if you do, there you go. So anyway, I'm going to start with telling you the full story about A Place at the Table, and how it works and what it is, and then I'll dive into some of the specific fundraising concepts that I was asked to share about. A Place at the Table is just a really special place, and it has and was built on the full concept of fundraising. That's our logo right there. But that is the reason we are here, and so you'll catch some of that, and then I'll go into specifics, and then I'll open it up for questions in hopes that you guys can type some in, or I don't know if you can speak on this or not. Speak to them, and I'm happy to answer whatever you have, and or follow up later with questions if you have them. But again, I can't see you, but I did want to start with having you close your eyes. So Dawn can tell me if you are all closing your eyes. But close your eyes, and I invite you to picture a kitchen, or maybe open your eyes, and if you're at home, look at your kitchen. And what does it look like? What does it smell like? Right now I've got a candle that I love, and I really wish I had cookies or something good smelling in here, but I don't. But picture what that looks like or smells like. I now invite you to switch that thought and picture another kind of kitchen, a soup kitchen. So it's suddenly a different image, right? You can open your eyes if you have them closed. Did it look something like this? If it was, that is certainly okay. It was my idea of a soup kitchen that I grew up volunteering at as a child. My mom, twin sister, and I, we would drive downtown to the soup kitchen that we still have here in Raleigh. We would take whatever we had that day to make for lunch, and the instructor or the person in charge would tell us what to make. And at 11, we would then serve the food to the line out the door. I grew up serving there often. And it was through this experience that I noticed many things, as any child would. One thing that always kind of stuck with me and struck me for strange was that we served it prison style, is how I called it. I would be on this side of the line with a physical barrier in between me and a kid that looked just like me. So he'd serve this food that I wouldn't even eat. It was really truly unlike any dining experience that I had as a child. We then quickly clean up, and we wouldn't eat the food, and we would leave and go get whatever food we wanted that day. So grew up serving there. Years went by, and I actually grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina. Like I said, I was at the soup kitchen in Raleigh, serving and volunteering, but grew up in Raleigh and attended NC State. At first, I did not want to go to North Carolina State, which is in Raleigh. I wanted to leave. I was ready to go away and leave town, but I decided to stay for multiple different reasons and fell in love with Raleigh even more. Fell in love with North Carolina State. I had a degree in international relations and Italian. So very different than what I'm doing now. It's pretty funny, actually. Didn't use any of that, but I think I always had this idea that I was going to keep moving away and going away and maybe even marry some hot Italian and drink wine the rest of my life. Those things have not happened yet, but I still kept thinking that was going to happen. So that hence my degree. Loved my degree. Ended up getting involved in lots of different local organizations and started volunteering for a day shelter. Worked with many people who were experiencing homelessness and became friends with these folks at this day shelter. I found myself learning more about hunger in the community, as well as back at the soup kitchen that I volunteered with as a child. But I found myself on that opposite side of the line that I was talking about. So we'd stand in line on a cold, rainy day like today that's in Raleigh. We would get inside, someone would hand us a plate, and then we'd eat really quickly. So my friends, who many of you see in this picture, who were experiencing homelessness at the time or extreme poverty, we didn't get to really sit and eat over a good meal. And so that just always kind of stuck with me. As I'm learning more about hunger, I realized that 1 in 7 people in Wake County still are food insecure, and 1 in 5 children are hungry. That's a lot of people if you think about it. And now, gosh, I can talk about this forever. During this pandemic, even more and more people are going to be experiencing this, and those numbers are going to go up. But it was at this time that I'm learning that eating at the soup kitchen that I started taking people out for meals, and I saw that they wanted to go to places with places like Golden Corral, if you have them wherever you live, or K&W, places that had a lot of choice and places that where they felt valued. I asked my friend John why we always went to these places, why we always ended up at Golden Corral. And John happened to be experiencing homelessness and poverty at the time. And he said, Maggie, 2 reasons. And they're the 2 I just said. One, people living in poverty, I don't have much choice. People make all choices for me, from where you sleep, from what you eat, to where you go in your day. Here, I get to make that choice. I get to choose whether I want a waffle today or a salad today. I get to choose. And the second thing, living in poverty means you get treated as invisible a lot. People walk right by you and they don't even see you. They don't acknowledge you. Here, multiple people greet you, say hello, ask what you'd like from the buffet line, come around and check on you, and really see you and see that you're a human. So it was in this moment that this mic drop just went off in my head, where I said, "Wow, we got to do something about this. We needed to change up this town and create a place for all people, no matter what." So I started researching, and I found the pay what you can system, and I found that we also could have a pay what you can system in this community. Found that there were over 60 across the country, and that Raleigh could be the one that had the 61st pay what you can one. And I'll tell you more about that in a minute, but found this working model and said, okay, let's do it. So we opened a place at the table the next day, right? And all was well. Wrong. Definitely not. 48 months later, yes, 48, You can count them because I certainly was. 48 months later, we opened a place at the table in Raleigh, in downtown Raleigh. Before I go through the process of it and how we built it in those 48 months, I want to tell you a little bit about what a place at the table is. So this is our front door. For any who have not been there, I know Dawn said there are many of you who don't even live in Raleigh, which is great because you don't have to hear my same spiel or hear about a place at the table. So, but now if you were to walk in this kitchen with me and in this store with me, you would get up to you'd walk in, you can kind of see in the picture, you'd see full menu boards with lots of good food and a lot of good options. You would smell bacon or pastries or waffles. You would see really big photos on the wall with friendly faces. You hear really good music from Spotify. You would think you were in a regular restaurant because you are. It's only up until you get up to the register, and the person behind the register has a volunteer name tag. And so you start to question a little bit, you're a little confused, and that person says, your suggested price is, would you like to pay that price less or volunteer for your meal? So that's what suggested pricing means. All of our menu items have suggested prices. So you can choose to pay that price. You can pay more. We just never ask you to. You can pay more and pay it forward for someone else's meal. You can pay less because we know some weeks are just harder than others. And so you can pay $2, $5, whatever you have, and pay less for your meal. And if you don't pay less, we ask you volunteer with us. So we see anywhere from 50 to 60 people a day, pre-COVID, we'll talk about that later, volunteering for their meal. So they're coming in and they're working alongside our staff and other volunteers, and they're volunteering for their meal. We are a hand up versus a hand out. So people choose to volunteer. We don't force you to. We all want to be a part of something. And so here, by volunteering for your meal, you're able to be a part of it. Let's see. What else I got here? So that is a place at the table. And like I said, the food is really, really good. We have a full-time staff. So we have a head chef who's culinary trained. We have a cafe manager. We have multiple sous chefs. We've got great baristas who know how to make those pretty hearts in your latte. I've been trying for 2 years because we've been open since January 2018. I still can't make the latte art, but I'm determined in COVID during this time to do it, to learn it, and to finally just suck it up and be able to make a heart in a latte. But that's why you hire good people who know how to do it. So the restaurant is good because we knew that all people, no matter who you are, deserve really good food and a good experience, and that you'll come out once for a good cause, but you'll come out again if the food and experience is good. Quickly, I want to tell you about my friend Dino, and it's just another reason we do what we do. So Dino started coming to us back in January of 2018, right when we opened. I had no idea how he found out about us, but he did. And when he first came, he did not talk at all. He wouldn't say a single word. About 6 months after that, he wouldn't say a single word, but he would do dishes for hours. He loves the dish room, or loved, past tense. He won't do dishes anymore, but he loved the dish room. And so he'd eat his waffle or his sandwich, whatever he chose that day. And then he'd do dishes for hours. And 6 months after doing dishes every single day, he started talking more. So we'd bring people like these two back to the dish room. And then he couldn't stop talking. He was telling them their whole life story, where he came from, who he was. And then about 2 months after that, a news story came out and did a story on a place at the table. And Josh, our manager, said, interview Dino. He'll be interviewed. I said, no way. He will not. He won't say a single word. The news story team asked Dino if they would interview him, and he said, absolutely. He talked for 30 minutes about what a place at the table meant to him. And so now he still comes every single day. He won't do dishes because he doesn't want to be away from people. All he does is run food, talk to people. So that is what we were doing. We're creating a place for the Dinos of the world to really feel a part of it. Another story. to show who else this is a place for. We had a family of 4 come in, and they walked up to the register, and Liz, the volunteer behind the register, heard the dad say, "Kids, get whatever you want today because we're not going to be eating out for a while." So they walked up, they ordered their food, and Liz said, "Your suggested price is $30, whatever it was. Would you like to pay that or less?" And they said, "What do you mean?" So Liz explained the mission, and the mom started crying, and the dad said, "You have no idea what this means. I just lost my job, and we are living on her teacher's assistant salary, and all we can do is pay a couple dollars for our meal." So they did, and they ate, and they loved it, and they came back. So that is what we were doing. We are also creating a place for every single human, no matter who you are, to really feel like you are welcome there and that you can be a part of it. So it works. We've been open 2 years. These are our stats in 2019. We served almost 13,000 meals to people who couldn't afford it. And even cooler statistic is that 27,000 times people in this community paid it forward because they believed in it and because of the work that we put into it the years prior. We also, I want to note that we are expanding. We are building a new space next door. Not a great time to build a new space next door during COVID, but we are building a new space next door where we're going to even have a bigger space for more people, a bigger kitchen, and really just pull this community together even more. And honestly, we're only able to expand because of the fundraising work and crowdfunding work that we did years prior to this. So now it gets into the fun. So that's a little bit about Place the Table. Happy to answer questions after all this if you have any other questions. But the model works, y'all. It is not supposed to work. It's a weird concept. There were 61 pay what you can cafes across the country. Now there's only 39 because it's a concept that's really hard. But our community in Raleigh owns it and really just rocks it. And it's only possible because of the people that have made it happen every single day. So how did we do this? So going back, after I am visiting the soup kitchens and eating with John at Golden Corral, and I'm researching the Pay What You Can system, I finally said, we have to do this. So this is in 2014. I was researching everything from restaurants, nonprofits, all the things, found the Pay What You Can system, went and visited the closest one, which is in Boone, North Carolina, and said, if other people can do this, then Raleigh can too. Brought about 4 or 5 different people, different times. For the next couple months in 2014, brought different people up with me to see this Pay What You Can cafe. And everyone said, oh, it's a great idea. Go do it, right? No one said, oh, that would never work. Well, no one said it then. They definitely said it after that. But none of my closest friends, family said it won't work. They all said, oh, that's cool. And I think they really meant, oh, that's cute. Good luck. But everyone's like, oh, cool. Like that could work in Raleigh. And so came back. I finally started Googling then. Google was my best friend. And Google told me that I needed to incorporate as a business. So I marched down to the Secretary of State's office in downtown Raleigh and said, I want to build a business. And so she handed me this paperwork. So I left. And then I came back a week later, filled out the paperwork, sent it in, got denied 2 weeks later in the mail. So I had to go back, turn it in again. And then we were a business 2 weeks after that. So we were a Place the Table LLC. Then Google says, you need to apply for nonprofit status. And I had no idea what that meant. So Googled everything, of course, again, and then started realizing that I needed people. I couldn't do this on my own, that good things are about people coming together to make it happen. So slowly but surely, I started building this village, team of people that made a Place the Table possible back then and now. So built this vision team first, because that's what Google said. Google was like, you got to build a small vision team that then becomes your board of directors. And so brought similar-minded people to the table, just people I knew, like my best friend or my brother or someone I knew from church or someone I knew from my kickball league, whatever it was. started bringing similar-minded people together and literally to the table. We met once a week, and we were the vision team for what we wanted to see a place at the table be or become. And then Google said, you got to become official board of directors. You got to create a financial plan. You got to create a restaurant plan. You got to create a marketing plan, a fundraising plan. And so I started figuring out that we started figuring out that we needed people that had all those skills. So we found an accountant. We found a restaurant owner. We found a lawyer. We found these folks who wanted to be a part of this and add their input. Some of those people became the board of directors, which all nonprofits have, which I know many of you work in nonprofits, so you know that. So some of them became the board of directors that we filed with, but they helped us create the plans. And they were becoming the friends of a place at the table. So we turned that paperwork in 4 months after January. So in 4 or 5 months, so about May timeframe, sent that nonprofit paperwork and all those components in with a lot of help. So a legal firm, an accounting firm, all these folks that made it happen, sent it in. And so Google, again, went back to Google. They said, you can still start fundraising. And then if and when you get your nonprofit status, you can, all your donations can be retroactive. So you can people can still write it off on their taxes, all those things. That's super important. And so we held our first fundraiser in August. We still had not received nonprofit status, but we held our first fundraiser. And oh my gosh, let me tell you, it was, I thought it was the bomb.com, but we raised like $3,000. And I think my mom funded most of that or like a best friend or something. So it had like 30 people in the room, and did this beer dinner, and it was a blast and super fun. And we raised a little bit of money, just a little bit of seed money, which was awesome. But after that, that's when I realized we maybe needed to do things a little differently. We got our nonprofit status in November, and that's when I realized that it wasn't about fundraising. It was really about friend raising. It was really about building the community that will eventually make it happen. It is hard to fundraise if you do not have a building or a space for what you are doing, or have a full concept yet. And if you don't have funds in the bank, so you don't have any credibility. And so we decided to stop fundraising and start just making friends. Like I said, we started hosting information sessions. So we would go to churches, we would go to community spaces, we would go to breweries, and we would host information sessions and invite the community in, invite my friends and their friends, and my mom's church and her church members, and all these different people we would invite to come out and just learn more. We would also host outreach events. So we would go to different nonprofits all across town once a month. We went and we either served a meal, or we went and learned about what they were doing. So we went and served a meal at the local day shelter. We went and served at the soup kitchen. We went to the LGBTQ center and just told them what we were doing, and then learned what they were doing. We went to Interfaith Food Shuttle, another local food organization, and did a lunch and learn with them and learned what they were doing. So we went and did once a month a different outreach event, and learned about other nonprofits, told them what we wanted to do, and made friends in the nonprofit world. We're still, during this time, we're still searching for a space. So can't find a space. Landlords won't rent to us because they just see us as this place that's going to be a spot where people are going to loiter, where there's going to be a lot of homeless people out front. And again, we didn't have the connections and relationships in the community to really find those landlords that would be willing to take a chance on us and to work with us and to believe in what we were doing. And so we just decided to keep going. At this point, we also had launched our social media. So while we're doing information sessions and while we're doing outreach events, we got on social. It'd be really interesting actually for me to go back in 2015 to see that social, because I probably had like 10 followers, let's be real. But I was committed to posting every other day, or maybe like twice a week, honestly, because we didn't have enough content to post. And we would just post what we were doing, who we were with, where was our information session? And so people slowly started following the journey. They followed the journey from just this first post of here's what we're doing to where are we doing an information session to what are we doing now? And I really honestly think people were just like, is this girl going to succeed or fail? Let's follow that journey. But we slowly started gathering followers and people started following the journey. And so it was at this time that we realized that, yes, we're doing information sessions, yes, we're doing events, but we actually really need to start, like I said, making friends too and living our mission. So we started popping up once a month in a different restaurant and bringing people to the tables together to share in relationship, to eat good food together, and then pay what they can. We realized we needed to actually live our pay what you can model where all were welcome to share a meal and enjoy a meal together. And so we went to different restaurants in the community and shared a meal, and people paid what they could. The first one in 2016 was a disaster. We probably had 50 people come out. It was super hot. It was like 101 degrees in August, and it was outside. Never again did I do that, but we took what we could get, and we worked with the restaurants, and people came, ordered their food, sat together, ate together. This picture right here is one of probably the fifth or sixth one we had, and this was at a popular restaurant in town, and we had all different types of people coming together. You can't see her right here, but on the left-hand side is Kristen Cooper, our governor's wife, sitting across from a guy I know who sleeps under a bridge, a girl I know who I work out with at the gym, and all these different folks are sitting together and building those relationships. So that, again, the first one was a disaster, but then the next one we probably had 75 followers or 75 people that came, then 100, then 150, then 200, then 300. By the last one in August of 2017, we had 400 people coming to these pop-up events. And so people really started to enjoy these relationships and following this pay what you can model. At this time, we're going back to that social media. We're on social. So we're posting where our pop-ups are. People are coming out. I, at the time, am meeting with 2 or 3 people a day, different people, just random people, meeting with people from like politicians to nonprofit directors to, people who sleep on their bridges, all the things. I'm meeting with all these different people and telling them what we want to do and making friends and just introducing myself. And then after every meeting, leaving that meeting saying, who else can you introduce me to? Who else can I meet with? And leaving that meeting, going home, then emailing them and saying, had a great meeting. I know you said you had a couple people in mind I could meet with. Do you mind making those email introductions? So really just meeting these people, not asking for anything, and one by one, having all these folks who have heard what I want to do, who have become my friends in this community. It's really funny. My last name is Kane. And so in Raleigh, if you're from Raleigh, one of the richest men in Raleigh, richest family in Raleigh, his last name is Kane as well. They own a lot of real estate and things like that. And so the biggest joke, rumor is, I've been on a couple podcasts and they've asked me, so you're John Kane's daughter, right? And I always just laugh because no way am I John Kane's daughter. I wish this would have been a lot easier if that was true. But then I always say it wouldn't have been though, because it took these years of pop-ups, fundraisers, failures of fundraisers, relationships built to really create what we have now. It took the 3 years that it took from 2014 to, or almost 4 years, 2014 to January of 2018 when we opened, to create the friendships and relationships that made a place at Able happen back then and now. And so no, I'm not John Kane's daughter, and I love the Kane family. They're wonderful. But we needed that time to really do this journey and go along with this journey of meeting all these folks. So finally, after all these pop-ups, we did about 10 pop-ups. We had a real estate agent that had worked with us for years, and he was ready to give up. He's like, I don't think you're ever going to find a space, Maggie. And then he finally called me and he said, Maggie, York Properties, they came to a pop-up event and they believe it. They see it. And I had actually also met with them multiple times, giving them my pitch. And so then when they finally came and saw it, they realized, like, okay, we want this person to be able to use one of our spaces. So in August of 2017, got a call from York Properties, and they said, we have a space that you can rent. And it was right in downtown, exactly where we needed to be. And so 4 months later, we were able to open a place at the table in January of 2018. I was asked to speak also about crowdfunding, and crowdfunding platforms. That was what I was going to speak about in the beginning. And it's funny because we didn't do that. We did actually initially do that back in the first year in 2015, but it failed. I put it out there. I said, let's raise $100,000. And I thought I was ready. I had a social media campaign, all the things and that you're supposed to do. And then we launched it and we raised $10,000, and that was great. And that was fine. But from then until August of 2017, we did not ask again for money. The pop-ups did not create money for us. We maybe raised $1,000 or $2,000, which is not enough to open a restaurant, let me tell you. The information sessions, we didn't ask for money. The outreach events, we certainly didn't. Again, we just created these relationships with folks. In August of 2017, when York Properties called us, I then reached out to all of the people that we had been meeting over the years and said, it's time, we have a space. And we raised $400,000 in 2 months. And we were able to open our doors, do construction, and do everything that we were able to do because of the community. Because we had all these people who were in our corner just waiting, who were cheering us on, but we never were asking for money. And not that you shouldn't, not that people shouldn't, but we were creating these friendships and building this trust, this public trust that is so crucial, that then all those people helped us open our doors and helped us open in January of 2018 and then be open for 2 years. Like when a pandemic hit, when the coronavirus comes, there is no playbook for how someone is supposed to run a business or operate a restaurant or run a nonprofit during COVID. But people help make it possible. Literally, if we had not had 5 years of this concept of friend raising, and not fundraising, not raising the funds. Yes, we have funds in the bank, but this concept of friend raising, of building this public trust, creating relationships with people, really getting to know people authentically and genuinely, then we would not survive this pandemic. We would have already been shut down. But we have been able to succeed, survive, thrive, everything because of the people in this community that know us, love us, believe in us, that we have developed friendships with over the past couple years. And now how Table is, we were normally open 6 days a week, many hours a day, 2 meals a day. Now we have limited hours, we have a limited menu, we're open only 5 days, and we're serving about 200 more people a day a free meal than we normally do. So we normally serve about 50 to 60 free meals a day, and those folks volunteer for their meal, and then many others pay less. Now we're serving about 250 to 300 every single day, or 5 days a week, a free meal. And the community is helping make that happen. And they're doing that by following along on our social media and seeing all that we're doing, by coming in or pulling up to the curb and seeing what we're doing, by emailing me and checking in, by just staying connected to a place at the table. They are helping us do this. So in crisis and times like this, it's crucial to have people in your pocket. It's crucial to have people who believe in you. I over the years before Table happened, I sat down with lots of different sponsors, small businesses, big businesses, corporations, and many different people over the years, And now they're reaching out to me. They're calling me and saying, what do you need? When do you need it? What can I send you? What can we help with? Because they believe in what we're doing because of the years of that public trust that we built. One of the not coolest stories, but a cool story is Blue Cross and Blue Shield. I met with them in 2015, told them what we were doing, and I didn't ask for anything. I met with them in 2016, told them what we were doing again, gave them an update, didn't ask for anything. 2017, I met with them. I said, I think we're getting closer. I'm sure they were just laughing, but in 2017, met with them and told them about what we were doing in the update. And then months later, when we finally found a space in 2017, I called Blue Cross and I said, let's meet. I'm ready. And I talked to them. They gave us $100,000. And I truly believe it's because of the relationships we built with them over the years. Now they called me 2 weeks ago, right when all this was, 4 weeks ago, and said, how can we help? What do you need? Just ask. And so I say all that because truly, building those relationships with people are what makes it possible. Yes, funding is crucial. Yes, all of that. But people are what makes it happen, or what makes it possible. And so at a place at the table, no matter if you're I know this is about fundraising and financial means, but no matter if you're donating, dining, or volunteering, you are a part of table. And we have really over the years made that our emphasis and made that number one priority is making people feel like they are a part of our mission. Yesterday, if you follow us on social, you would have seen this. We have if this doesn't speak for relationships, I don't know what does. We have normally in our restaurant, we have about 80 volunteers who have a weekly shift with us. That means they come in every Friday morning, 6:30 to 10. That's their weekly shift. We have 80 of those people. And so during COVID, we haven't had any volunteers. And so yesterday, they all love tables so much. They all feel a part of it that they raised a ton of money for tables together. And they did a surprise parade for our staff. So we had 60 cars all driving by the cafe with huge signs, with megaphones screaming through their cars. And so again, the power of people is huge. The power of fundraising is huge. Fundraising is the way the world is going to go. We need each other. People need each other. And people want to help each other. They just have to ask each other, and they have to trust that the other person is real and true. And so that's all I have. I'm going to get off this. But
I'm back.
Now I can see Dawn. Okay. But that is what I have. I was gonna take a picture because I thought I could see everyone's faces. But that's okay. I'll just take a picture of me and Dawn because I that goes back to my social media point, is like the power of posting, the power of sharing what you are doing, people love. And so we still to this day try to share everything that we are doing. So if you guys have that's the place at the table. Would love for you, if you're in Raleigh, come check us out. Right now we're open 5 days a week. We're open Wednesday through Sunday. Hence why I'm sitting in my house right now and haven't left the house today. Wednesday through Sunday from 8 to 2, and we have a limited menu, like some of the best damn biscuits I've ever had in my life, bacon, egg, and cheese, sausage, egg, and cheese, lots of pastries, lots of pretty latte art. So come and see us. You can call or you can walk up, and we'll get you some good food. And it's pay what you can. So you can always pay $2. You can pay. I mean, I know many of us work for nonprofits. Yeah. I'm not banking it. So $2 for a biscuit sounds real good right now. So that's us. You can also follow us on social media at Table Raleigh. If you don't follow us, please do, because we are about to hit. We're about to hit 15,000 followers. So you will at least get us over the 14.9 mark, and we'll be 100 away from 15,000.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. I was really inspiring. It's great. So this is Nonprofit Communicators. So what are your top 3 most useful communications tools? Yeah.
Social media for sure. Number one. Social media is free. We've never spent $1 on social media. And it's free and it's there, and people get to follow the story and the journey. So social media has been huge for us as a way to keep people engaged. our newsletter. So I send a newsletter out once a month on the second week of every month, and the feedback I get is huge. So I think that is a big way that people communicate back with us. I share stories, so real life stories of impact. So how a place at the table is impacting people's lives. I share a story of that, and I'm just real. So I really just like, kind of, if you read mine from last week, I just kind of poured my heart out about how like shitty this whole climate is and how it all sucks. And because we all like, it sucks for everyone. No one's winning in any of this. And so I think our newsletter is huge because I do get a lot of emails back from people who have read it, heard it, seen it, whatever. The third communication strategy is and I've never thought about any of this, by the way. I don't see myself as a public communicator, okay? I just see myself as someone who like serves meals every day. But I write a lot of thank you notes. Thank you notes are huge. From day one, I hand wrote thank you notes. And there are like easy ways to do this. You can get the postcards where you only have to write about 3 different lines instead of a full letter. So I write thank you notes for everything. And I immediately, after I met with anyone, after I had a good call with anyone, I'd immediately write an email thank you note. And if I had their address, I would write a handwritten thank you note and send it. And I still do it to this day. You get a thank you note from me in a week or now it's about 2 weeks. But that is huge. And that has made, I mean, the amount of emails I get from people saying, thank you so much for your handwritten notes. So I think that's a really good communication strategy.
Okay, we have a question from the audience. That's very exciting. I feel like a radio host. I'm like, ooh, first time caller, long time listener.
Oh my God.
So, Angie Clark, she says, love your organization. Curious if you partner with other local organizations. And then how do you disenfranchise people? How do disenfranchised people find out about Places at the Table? So how do you kind of reach new audiences?
Yeah.
So the first question is, if you partner. The second one is, how do you kind of reach new audiences?
Great question. And they kind of go together a little bit. So I said that we were doing outreach once a month. We still do that. So now it's every other month. We go out to a local organization or another nonprofit, and we tell them about what we're doing. We bring a meal. I didn't even bring this up. We have these little meal tokens where people can, they can come in and use this little token and use it as a gift card or a meal and get whatever they want on the menu. So we bring our tokens to these organizations, and they give the tokens out to people, families, whoever needs a meal. So they're in all different local nonprofits. If you're in Raleigh, they're at Interfaith Food Shuttle, they're at Oak City Cares, they're at the Women's Center, they're at all the shelters. So the staff have these tokens that they're in food pantries at NC State and Meredith and different universities, INLO. So then people can use these tokens and come and get a meal. So they find out through other nonprofits as well. So yes, we partner with a lot of organizations, as many as possible. 2, they find out, people who are experiencing poverty find out about us through other organizations. Word on the street is huge. So just a friend bringing them or someone telling them about Table, that's probably number 1. But 3, a big myth and I was surprised as well when I got into this work. A big myth about people in poverty is that they don't have access to cell phones or the internet, and that's not true. They all have cell phones. They all have internet. You can get Wi-Fi at the library or in a lot of community spaces. But the day shelters have Wi-Fi, so they can see, and they follow us on social media too. Some of the best comments are some of my folks
awesome.
who are living in poverty, but they follow that as well. So they've been able to see that we were closed for 2 days or whatever. They can see that. But they definitely have access to the internet, and they can follow along on our social as well, or get our newsletter.
Great. Fantastic. Okay. Let's see. So Heather asks, when starting a new connection with another organization, what have you found works best for getting their attention and trying to get your foot in the door? I'm sure they're wondering if it's going to be an ask, and if you don't have an ask for money on these initial visits, how it helps grab their attention about your mission. So yeah, it's really those like just get to know you is really hard. So how did you do that?
Yeah, it is really hard. So framing it depends on the audience for sure. So if it's a local nonprofit, I would just say, I just want to come and learn about what y'all are doing. And I want to tell you what we're doing. And I just want to know you and the work you're doing, because it did come from a very authentic place of knowing the really cool other players in this community, and stressing that we're not trying to compete with you at all. We did this for other restaurants as well, not trying to compete with you at all, but tell you what we're doing, and just want to hear your story and want to hear the good work that the Women's Center is doing, or the good work that the LGBTQ community is doing, or the community center is doing. So really working and going to them, and however much time they were going to give me, I was going to sit there and listen to them and ask them a lot of questions about their organization, as well as giving them shout outs on social media, including them in our newsletter about the awesome work they were doing, and things like that. I also attended a lot of different, community meetings, and just made myself present in those, so people knew I was trustworthy as well, and that I wanted to learn about these people and these organizations. If it was meeting with a potential new fundraiser or donor, I would just say, hey, I have this really cool concept that I want to tell you about. I heard you might be interested in things like this, and I want to tell you about it, and I want to hear your thoughts and maybe get advice from you. And so every person I tried to learn things from, because they had such great advice to give. And so I would just, if I was meeting with Blue Cross and Blue Shield and setting up that meeting, I said, I have this idea. I really want to hear what you think about it, and hear how you could potentially see this working in the community. I never said, hey, I want to see how you could potentially fund this, or if you'd be interested in giving me money. It was more like, what advice do you have for me? And some of that advice is the best in the world. Blue Cross and Blue Shield, I asked them, I said, what advice do you have for me starting out like this? And they said, I would start doing outreach. And that's why we did outreach. And so we gained all these little tidbits from all these people. And then maybe I didn't talk to them for another year, but then a year from then they remembered, and they said, are you still doing that thing? And then I would say, oh, are you still doing that thing? And we had this relationship. I also, relationship building, I would ask personal questions too, and just want to get to know them, because that's who I am. I love to get to know people's stories. Hence, A Place to Table is such a relationship building organization. And so I find out, like, if they had animals, and I'd remember that, and I'd check in a month later and be like, how's Larry the dog doing? I don't know, Larry, I've never heard Larry the dog, but just kind of came up with that. And so ask them personal questions and follow up, right? People, when you try to make a personal relationship with someone, it's different, and it feels different than just cold asking. And so I don't know if that answered your question, but just being really genuine about wanting to get to know that person, because I did. And then people who weren't interested in what we were doing, then that was fine. I still got to know them and still kept up with them, and would follow up a month or two later and check in and see how they're doing. But I didn't in 3 years from them, I didn't go and ask them for money. So got to know, like, by them giving advice to me, but also me asking what their interests were, I realized, are they into food and community? If not, if they're really into animals, they're not going to want to give to me. So, but I can still know them and be in a relationship with them.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, that was a long-winded question.
No, you're good. I think that advice is the best way to get in the door, right? And I think it is all about that initial meeting, and it's about advice. It's about, what do you think is, I need help, and I need help from you because you're so smart. I think it's such an easy way to get in. Okay, one last
follow
question
up on that.
here.
Well, let me quickly follow up on that. People want to help. They just have to be asked. So that what you just said about I need help, and you're an accountant, and I have no, I have no math skills. I have no legal skills. I have no restaurant skills. but going to an accountant and saying, I need help, and this sounds like something you could get behind, and would you give me some advice on this? Because you're an expert in this, and we need an expert in accounting, and just being real with them, because people really want to help. They just need to know how, and they need to be told specifically how they can help. And I'll also follow up with, if they don't respond to your email, if they say no, reach out again. Keep asking. I asked people some people 3 or 4 times. John Kane, my story about John Kane, I asked him every single couple of months if he would meet with me. And I even made jokes. Like, I was like, I might be your long lost father. You might be my long lost father. That one did not work, let me tell you. But
no.
but keep following up, because they'll eventually respond back. So eventually he responded and said, yeah, I would love to meet and talk. So don't be afraid that if they don't respond back to you the first time, go again and ask them. Go again and talk to them, or keep pushing it.
Great. Okay, so Mario asks, are there any specific tools that you're using for social engagement or reach? Anything for analytics, automation, managing your responses? Like, do you have any specific tools?
God, I'm sorry. I really wish I had that answer. I don't even know what analytics mean. And so I finally found, if you guys are all social media pros, if you're not, if you happen to be on this call, find someone who really knows what they're doing. I should have had Sarah join me here. She does social media for NC State. And so she has helped me a lot in figuring out the analytics. So she'll look at like posting at a certain time, and I feel like I'm telling professionals this, but I'm not a professional and you guys are, but she'll tell me what time to post that day, or we started noticing that videos where I'm talking on the video got a ton of reach. Like, it went everywhere. So we started doing more videos of me talking. Mm-hmm. We started noticing that the photos of scones, like, people don't want that, but they really want photos of people. So we started doing that more. So noticing what was really working and what wasn't, and doing more of that. What else? If you guys already do this, I feel like I'm an idiot saying this. Tagging people. Never knew to tag people. Yeah. Started tagging people, and that was a game changer, because then you got a lot of likes. Making sure to comment back has been a big thing for us. So commenting back at people's comments, making people feel like they are a part of it. Again, going back to that relationship, making people feel like they are in the conversation and they're helping make table happen too. Stories, people love our stories. We get thousands of views on our stories. They lots of stories of both food, but of people and us talking and things like that. We haven't done the live thing, so we might do that. But I should be really directing the questions at you guys, because we're now we don't even do hashtags. So no, probably not the expert.
I have a question. So how do you get permission to share your client stories? Like, do you so I mean, we've worked in healthcare nonprofits, and that a lot of them are very afraid to share people's stories because it's their private story and blah, 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 blah. So we have this elaborate thing of getting releases and making sure that they feel good about the story that's being shared. Oh. So what's your process for sharing stories?
We don't have releases. We probably should. I'm learning a lot. No, we have such strong relationships with people, and so we just ask, like, I shared a story the other day about this woman, Tracy. She lives in a tent, actually, and she emailed us, and we were closed 2 days, and she emailed us and said, are you guys okay? I haven't checked the social media, just making sure you guys are okay, and really cared about what we were doing and who we were, and where we were. And so I asked her if I could share her story, and she said yes. So asking people. Also, I changed the name a lot. I just changed the name in some of my newsletter stories. And so it just adds that level of privacy. If I post a picture about someone, I'll ask. But people really love pictures of themselves. That power of seeing yourself on something and people commenting. So just verbal ask, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's what I've found too. So I've really pushed my entire career for sharing real stories of real people, and not this weird, like, watered down, mangled, like, mashed up stories. And that when you ask people, they want to share. And I think that it's really powerful for them to be an example for other people, and that they want to share their story. And it's not some weird glory thing. It's that, they've come through a lot and they want to share what they've struggled with and what they've overcome. So,
and I think that's a point that is crucial in social media and marketing and any type of comm, is people want to see people. They don't want to see the stone. They don't care about that. They want to see people. They want to connect with people. People need people. And so it goes back to the relationship building, fundraising, all of that. People want to see people. They want to know your story. They want to know stories, because people connect with people's faces.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much today for sharing your story. We're going to wrap up our session. But can people reach out to you with additional questions?
Absolutely. My email is maggie@tableraleigh.org. You can find that on our website. But I'm on the back end of the social media account, so you can feel free to reach out then.
Cool. Well, great. Well, thank you so much. And you really are doing an amazing thing for our community through this incredibly rough time for everybody. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Hope to see more of you. Yeah. On our next session. Bye.